Alright guys, since I've been speaking a lot about this one fragrance from the house of Frederic Malle, Promise, it's a boozy fragrance, I thought today let's do an updated list on 10 of my favorite, most awesome boozy fragrances. Yes, it does feature Promise from Frederic Malle, the least expensive fragrance from the Desert Gems collection. Plus I've got 9 more boozy fragrances that I really love and I think you guys might like as well. There's an inexpensive one, 2 designers, one of them is the inexpensive one, and various other designers and niche houses and their boozy offerings. So if you want to find out about my 10 awesome boozy fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about boozy fragrances. I did feature this fragrance in a video yesterday. It's Promise from Frederic Malle. And also, the fact that we're not able to go to bars these days and, you know, drink liqueurs or, you know, cocktails and things like that. Most of us are probably having them in our houses. So the thing with boozy fragrances is they're usually featuring notes of cognac, rum, whiskey, sometimes vodka, you know, champagne and things like that, which these particular fragrances feature today. Some actually might not even feature those notes, but then they might actually smell boozy just by combining different notes to create an accord. Anyway, we're going to find out about these 10 fragrances, but if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So yes, I do love boozy fragrances. Boozy fragrances generally tend to go into that oriental woody fragrances category. Some of them are combined with vanillic notes and, you know, resins and things like that. Lots of them are combined with woody notes, and some of them actually have tobacco. Some of the fragrances I'm going to talk to you about today do feature tobacco along with the boozy notes, but I was trying to make sure that, you know, I had a list of fragrances that don't feature a lot of tobacco because that will be on a future video. So I was trying to make sure that they're just strictly boozy fragrances, but there are a few that feature tobacco as well. But we're going to go ahead and start off with Frederic Malle's Promise. This is the least expensive in the Desert Gems collection, and Promise to me smells like an apple liqueur, more like an apple cognac. Calvados is what I usually mention, and it does smell a little bit like apple cider, but more like a hard liqueur kind of apple cider because the apples in here are fermented. But what we have for notes are Cypriol, apples, rose, patchouli, Labdanum, pink pepper, cloves, and castoreum. This is actually really awesome as a fragrance. And funny thing, recently, I should say not recently, but probably within the last year or two, the building I live in, a woman also supposedly is a closet perfume lover. I don't know if I should say that because I'm not really a closet perfume lover, but she supposedly is. And one day we were at a Christmas party a year or so ago, and I kept smelling this fragrance on her. Turns out she's a fan of Frederic Malle and she loves this fragrance. Anyway, very unique thing, and it's a very distinct smell too. But you know, the roses are very prominent and the apples are very prominent here, but the combination of all those notes with that Cypriol kind of smells like, to me, like a fine aged, barrel aged kind of a spirit or whiskey or cognac or something. Really delicious. This is Promise from the house of Frederic Malle. Next we're going to the house of ROJA Parfums, and this is probably my favorite boozy fragrance, or one of my favorites from this house. This is Creation E. Now this one actually features cognac, ginger, vanilla, tobacco. This one actually features tobacco, benzoin, black pepper, jasmine, neroli, and patchouli. There is a very gummy kind of a smell in there. Some people say it's a kind of like a Coca-Cola fizzy quality, which I kind of get that as well. But I think the combination of the resins with the ginger and the cognac perhaps goes into that kind of a direction. But you know, the tobacco is prominent here, but I feel like the cognac is a lot more prominent than the tobacco. Even the vanilla, I think, is definitely a lot more prominent, but here the fragrance is very dense. There's a dense quality to it, and the gumminess that I was mentioning is basically showing off its denseness. When you experience this gummy quality in a fragrance, that's the density that I'm talking about. But that experience is happening here, but the concoction or the combination of the notes is really, really gorgeous. It's a really, really long-lasting fragrance because this is the Parfum version, and the smell is very, very intoxicating and very, very wonderfully boozy. I would consider this an oriental woody fragrance, or could be woody spicy perhaps too, but that vanilla in here and the benzoin note, the resin and the, you know, the vanilla, taken into that oriental woody direction. Wonderful release from ROJA Parfums, Creation E. So this next one is from a designer house, a quirky designer house. This is Comme des Garçons, and this is Sequoia. And this used to be in a red bottle. It was discontinued, that whole red series, which included palisander, rose, carnation, and then I think the Sequoia was in there. I believe it was. As you can see, the Sequoia is written in red. That's basically dedicating it to that collection. So this one actually now has been brought into a collection called Olfactory Library. A lot of their discontinued fragrances, or some of their discontinued fragrances, are moved into this collection now. But this one's created by Bertrand Duchaufour and features rum. And the rum note is really, really delicious in here. But besides that rum, which is really bright smelling, there is this like very, very woody background. It's got lots of woods. It's mostly woods pretty much, and everything else is bright and what I should say is everything is brightened up by that rum, because in the end you have this very dense fragrance because it's ultra woody with the leather as well, because there's a note of sequoia. Sequoia is the name of the fragrance. Mahogany, oud, and leather, but the brightness comes in from that rum note, and it's really, really delicious. This is actually one of my favorites from this collection. Actually, I'm so in love with this house lately. I absolutely love their fragrances, and as I said, I'm going to keep talking more about these fragrances because I'm just obsessed with some of the quirkiness of the fragrances, and this one doesn't disappoint. This whole entire collection, the Olfactory Library, is pretty awesome, but they're all in different directions and very, very quirky offerings. Anyway, if you like a boozy, woody fragrance, definitely check out Sequoia from Comme des Garçons. This next one is from the house of NASOMATTO. This is BARAONDA. And BARAONDA, man, every time I spray it, I'm like, ah, that is such a great, great fragrance. There's something very, very sexy in here. There's, I think, that Ambrette seed note in here with the whiskey note. I don't know if you guys have caught my Ambrette video focusing on that note. Ambrette has a quality of boozy already and slightly fruity undertones, so it complements the whiskey so wonderfully. The two together are working really wonderfully together. Whiskey, Ambrette, there's woody notes, there's Ambroxan in here as well, and Ambroxan tends to be very, very sexy. There's rose and musk, and the combination is absolutely delicious. Really, really gorgeous fragrance. Sadly, this is not as beast as the other NASOMATTO fragrances. In fact, NASOMATTO's fragrances have gotten a little lighter since their reformulations and the very first time I experienced the fragrances. I don't know if they have like full-on reformulations, but for me they don't act very, very hefty as they once did. But this one actually never did. It just came out as is, and I think it's just a really, really wonderfully boozy fragrance. It smells really delicious. And as I said, the whiskey, the Ambrette, the Ambroxan, and the woody notes, the rose and musk together, it's really, really gorgeously boozy. Anyway, NASOMATTO BARAONDA. This next one is from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI, and this is URSA. And this does remind people of Straight to Heaven, but for me, even though that Straight to Heaven is there, there's a major leathery touch in here that kind of takes it into a different direction. Now, Straight to Heaven, you know, as I said, is by KILIAN. They also have Straight to Heaven Extreme, and again, Straight to Heaven Extreme is a more dense version of Straight to Heaven, but the URSA still has the leather that Straight to Heaven Extreme doesn't have. But for me, this one's really a lot about patchouli, a lot about rum. Leather, as I said, leather is really prominent here. Fruity notes, major. Fruity or dried fruity notes are basically what I get, like apricots and peaches, stone fruits like that. There's a very, I don't know, just really a dried fruity experience, as the smell of dried fruits of like apricots and peaches. As I said, those I love to eat myself, and you can pick it up here, but it's nicely combined with the booziness of the rum and the patchouli, the sexy, sexy patchouli in here. But there's additional oud and tobacco, there's some incense, there's some nutmeg, vetiver. The combination is awesome. Now, I don't know if this was a total straight to heaven inspiration, but the way that it's created here with the leathery touches and everything is really, really intense. The experience is wonderful. So this is Tiziana Terenzi Ursa, and if you like boozy patchouli fragrances, definitely try that, because it's really one that doesn't disappoint, especially if you like that combination. And speaking of by Kilian, I had to include one because they do have several gourmand / boozy fragrances. This is Black Phantom. I think maybe this is the only boozy. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but Black Phantom is really, really delicious, but it's like a in-your-face oriental fragrance with loads of gourmand notes: dark chocolate, rum, caramel, coffee, sugar, almonds. It's like a cornucopia of different gourmand notes, you know, mixed together to give you this really, really delicious gourmand. Boozy, yummy, chocolate, caramel, coffee. It's really, really satisfying. It smells great. It smells delicious. Like when you put it on, you almost want to like lick your arms. Don't do it, but that's how great it smells. It's really, I think, one of the best gourmands out there. In fact, I do have a top 5 gourmand fragrances from by Kilian video. Go check that out. And I think this is definitely highly recommended if you are a gourmand lover and you like boozy fragrances at the same time, because this one definitely doesn't disappoint. A wonderful release by Kilian, Black Phantom. Definitely to die for fragrance. Now this next one is inexpensive. This is Bentley for Men Intense, and I think this is one of the best inexpensive fragrances you can buy out there, especially if you're in the States. I'm not sure how easy or how inexpensive this is in other countries, but here in the States they are at the discounters, and you can get them as low as $35. I've even seen it for as low as like $32 for 100 ml, and I think it smells like $200 fragrance. It's really, really wonderful that way. And the dry down in this is so intoxicatingly delicious. It's absolutely wonderful. So this one, Bentley for Men Intense, does hint a little bit at a few other fragrances, and I've spoken about these two fragrances many times. I'm going to not talk about them today, but this one has loads of rum. It's very, very boozy. That's probably the main player here, and if it isn't, to me, I feel like that's the most standout. But Incense has a pretty prominence here. Woody notes are pretty prominent, and then other notes come in like benzoin, leather, cinnamon. There is a very cinnamony touch in there. Some other spices of black pepper and patchouli, but the combination is really, really to die for. And you know, I haven't checked out any other fragrances from this collection. One time I was in Lisbon, I went to a department store there, and they had displayed the whole entire Bentley fragrances collection. I quickly sampled through them, but I haven't really done much outside, so I do want to explore this collection more. And if you guys know of any other fragrances from this collection that are definitely worth it, do let me know if they are as good as this, because this is one of the best inexpensive fragrances you can get out there. As we actually, Dana and I featured it in a video recently of inexpensive fragrances. I don't know if you've caught that video, but it definitely is worth it. It smells wonderful, and it's one of the best boozy fragrances out there. Bentley for Men Intense, definitely check it out. And this next one I also wanted to feature, but it's getting harder and harder to get this fragrance, Fahrenheit Le Parfum. And this one, it's a really, really deliciously boozy vanillic fragrance that basically kind of like takes the original Fahrenheit. You can still pick up the original Fahrenheit, not that gasoline like petroleum note that's prominent in the original, but it's there. You can still pick up a little hints of it, but I think that's coming from the violet leaf that's in here. But it's got bourbon vanilla, suede, the violet leaves, the suede leather, rum, licorice, mandarin orange, coriander, but a really, really wonderful boozy designer fragrance. If you can find it, get it. If you like Fahrenheit and you like gourmands, check it out, because as I said, it's a more gourmand take on Fahrenheit. I don't know if they're going to keep it around. I hope they do. I hope they don't discontinue, but I rarely see this anywhere, and it really doesn't disappoint. It's really, really delicious boozy fragrance from the house of Dior. This is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. So this next one is a fragrance that I am obsessed with as a smell, but it has different boozy notes to create the boozy accord. And I think the combination of the two boozy notes along with the dried fruits in here give us that boozy kind of like rum-like quality, because I get rum from this, even though there's no mention of rum. This is Ambre Rousse. This is my little refill bottle, but it comes in a kind of a taller bottle, I think. they were resizing their bottles recently. I can't really, or they're doing some kind of a rebranding. But Ombre Rousse is a really, really beautiful, fruity, boozy fragrance featuring amber. It's amber, but it has vodka, it has champagne, plus the fruity notes that are in here, cinnamon and tea, and that combination. It's wonderful. It's really, really wonderful. It smells really, really great, and it has great longevity. It's an amber that I guess kind of goes in the direction of Grand Soir from Maison Francis Kurkdjian, but there's lots of fruitiness and there's lots of booziness here and some spiciness. Now, whereas whereas Grand Soir is a typical, beautiful, gorgeous Maison Francis Kurkdjian esque fragrance, this one is you know, Parfum d'Empire. Not a lot of talk about this house. He's a perfumer, an amazing perfumer, Marc-Antoine Corticchiato. There's a lot of different fragrances in the collection, but this one seems to be the one that really screamed at me and got my attention, because I just love that booziness from it. The fruitiness, the booziness, and the amber combination together is phenomenal. Anyway, Ombre Rousse, check it out if you don't know it. It smells really, really fantastic. And then I'm going to wrap up this list with a fragrance from the house of Initio Parfums, Side Effect. Here we've got another rummy fragrance, but this time we also have tobacco. See, the tobacco appeared in a couple of fragrances, but here with the rum and vanilla and the tobacco and cinnamon, it's a really, really unique concoction. Now, there's no mention of woody notes here. I get a very, very woody experience. Like when you get the booziness from the rum and you get the vanillic notes and the tobacco and the cinnamon at the same time, after you're past that, there's just like woods covering the whole fragrance. So in the end, boozy fragrances tend to go a little ambery to me to begin with, like syrupy. This one is not necessarily ultra syrupy to me, even though the rumminess is there. It's got a major coating of woods all around it that gives it a very woody concoction. I feel like this could lean a little masculine compared to, I don't know, even more masculine, I think, than the Fahrenheit. I feel like the woods in here just takes it into a more masculine direction. But overall, it's a great boozy fragrance experience I really enjoy wearing. Initio Parfums Side Effect, a great boozy fragrance. That's pretty much the only fragrance I think I haven't really spoken too much on the channel. But everything else, you know my channel and you've probably been following me. But I wanted to do this video, as I said, because I've been speaking a lot about this one. And this actually is a really, really awesome boozy fragrance. If you don't know it, do check it out. It is on the pricey side, but some of these other ones you can definitely get at discounters and save on the fragrances. But definitely, before you do that, before you you buy anything except for this one, because if you can find this around the discounters for about 35 bucks, the rest of them, do get them for, or actually test them out before you buy full bottles. Get some samples or decants if you can. This right here is from the Comme des Garçons house. It's $95 for a 50 ml. So that one also it's not gonna break your bank, but the rest of the collection might be really expensive. If you can get a bottle of this used to be around $100, but I think now they've raised the prices up. I don't see them anywhere. Anyway, those are my thoughts on today's video with the boozy fragrances. Do you like boozy fragrances? Do you hate boozy fragrances? Let me know. If you know any of these fragrances, put a comment down, and also let me know what boozy fragrances do you like that I might not have heard of, or I might have and just have not been speaking about, and you'd like to hear me speak about it. Anyway, put some comments down so that I can find out. Other than that, thanks so much for watching today. Please do like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.